Hello, everybody on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Welcome. John Arvosis here, normally in Washington, D.C., but now visiting Chicago for a few weeks to see my ma. Let me get the TikTokers going live here. One moment with the TikTokers. Here come our TikTokers. Always like to welcome them. They're sensitive that way, the TikTokers. One moment. Nope, I can hear my dog whining. 1 second, you. All right, they're notifying the TikTokers. Manda Bear, you're first again. I still don't know how you do it. Ashley, I'm seeing a number of people I know. Hey, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome. You know what's funny? She's smart. My dog was next to me, and I was going to pick her up to show you guys, and I swear to God she knew. She just jumped under the table. Now she's back in her bed. All right, here you go. Here you go. The girl knows something. I am John Arvosis. Welcome, everybody. Normally in D.C., now in Chicago, but back in D.C. in about 2 weeks. Thank you, Laka, for that. Introduce yourselves, folks, if you feel like it. Tell folks where you are from, which is always kind of a nice thing we do at the start of the show. We go for about 5 after or so, maybe 6 after, and then we'll start. But this way we give folks enough of a chance to actually get here, especially on TikTok. Oh, there's my Borg appendage already. Thank you, Pamela. I was actually looking that one up the other day and couldn't find it. And the origami. Thanks, guys. Oops, getting my notes in order. Woo! Portugal. Excellent. Hey, everybody. So hope we post. Bleh, can't even talk today. Ypsilanti, Hawaii. Nice. Oh, I haven't seen those glasses before. Those are cool. Pamela and Manda and my Universe Christie. Thank you. Poland. Lovely. Agata. I'm going to go with. Almost sounds like Agatha. Agata. Nice to meet you. And kind of Dazen maybe on TikTok. You guys have the hardest names for me. Oh, welcome, everybody. Am I having audio issues still or no? Tell me I'm not. Tell me I'm not. Oh, you know what? I never did check on the phone. Oh, well. Are the TikTok folks having audio issues or no? I mean, YouTube folks. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, TikTok's okay. The YouTube folks. All right. Oh, you know what? My microphone was way behind my laptop. Perhaps that's the problem. Here. Now it's closer to where it should be. Let's see if that's better. Okay. I had moved it too far back. Anyway, Malta. I know Malta's in Europe, but actually, Ryan, a lot of people may not know. So a lot of Americans would not know Malta was in Europe. So actually, I'm going to forgive you that one. My guess is you've learned through experience to tell people Malta is in Europe. Oh, my. Good guys. I can't speak today. I think I finally made my little chocolate dessert before we started. We're going to start in about 2 or 3 minutes, guys. I always take the first couple of minutes just to make sure all the folks from TikTok and YouTube can get in here. Igor, you are here today. Igor Mudry. Always like pronouncing the names in Ukrainian. Igor Mudry. But any case, so we go till about 5 or 6 after, just to give folks enough time to come in. We're pretty much getting there. The YouTube TikTok crowd's doing pretty well. Usually you guys hit around 3,000, and I know that's about where we should be. So we're almost there. Another minute. Thank you for the gifts. You know what I'll start doing? I will start my explanation of how this works while we're doing this. You regulars know, but for everybody else, I will be doing about a 20-minute explanation of the latest news. I won't hit everything, but I try to hit the topics. Thank you, Verita. I try to hit the topics that I think matter. And then we will do a question and answer period that goes maybe 45 minutes. It'll go till around quarter after the next hour, 20 minutes if I'm feeling really alive and generous. And the way I recommend it is on TikTok, submit your questions in the little Q&A box at the bottom. You'll see one of the little options at the bottom of your screen says Q&A. I even went to somebody's live yesterday to double check this. So Q&A, hit the button, and it lets you enter your question there. That way I get to see them all in a row, and it makes it easier because usually that is pretty cool. They're doing the funny stuff to my head on TikTok. The wreath of flowers is actually incredibly well done. It's kind of creepy how real it looks. But anyway, it allows me to see your questions in a row because usually we've got at least 90 questions from you TikTokers. You're very good at the questions, so it helps me see them. YouTube, you know the story. Enter your questions in the boxes at the bottom. If you're entering a regular question, I'd say wait until we get to the Q&A because that way I don't have to scroll back to find them. If you enter a super chat question, then I always promise I will get to those immediately or the next thing immediately as a thank you, because by doing that, you're supporting my work, and I thank you very much for that. And just that, yeah. So feel free to enter the super chat stuff anytime you want. I'll always, sort of stop the show at the next break and answer your guys' questions. And and then finally, thank you on TikTok as well. When you do all the funny little things to put on my head, it gives some good comic relief, and it helps me out too. And I appreciate it, because I never even knew this when I first watched TikTok, that thank you. Someone's dropping gold on my head, Pamela. When people put the funny things on the creators, it actually is a donation. Part of the money goes to the creators that you use to buy it, which is actually incredibly cool. At the beginning, I just thought it was cool stuff you were doing. And then I checked my balance and went, wait a minute, you guys are supporting me. Thank you. All right, guys, let me jump right in. So today, I would say, is a pretty good news day. I leave Chicago. Wendy's asking the first question. When do I leave Chicago? Sunday of next week. So like May 14th or 13th or whatever day that is. So I'm back to DC then. You've eaten all your Garrett's. Oh my God. There is this wonderful popcorn in Chicago sold by a company called Garrett's, but it's like gourmet. I say gourmet, but it doesn't, you can buy it. You can get it in the airports in Chicago, but they make a wonderful cheese corn and a caramel corn, and you can mix the two. Oof. And thank you for that, Gordon. All right, put my glasses on. So I would say it's a good news day. We've got a lot of good stories, I would say. So this is interesting. So just for starters, Ukraine says it's launched counteroffensives in Kharkiv. Kharkiv, as you know, is the second largest city in the Northeast. We talk about it a lot. It's also the city where we've been raising money for the humanitarian aid, food aid. The Meals on Wheels, the Americans would know, but for you Europeans, basically, it's or volunteers that have gotten together, get food, cook it, and deliver it to people around the town. Anyway, the Kharkiv has been under massive Russian attack now for a long time. Probably the second most bombed after Mariupol is what people are saying. I mean, it's that bad. Thank you, baby shoe. But the Ukrainians are saying they're going on the counteroffensive now in the Kharkiv area, that they're actually, rather than defending against the Russians, they're now pushing back, which is pretty amazing. Remember the counteroffensive that went on in the north of Kyiv? That was when the Ukrainians started pushing the Russians out of Ukraine. So going on the counteroffensive is a very positive thing. It means they're moving ahead and the Russians are now having to defend. Now, very interesting, and this is in the area around Kharkiv. Kharkiv city itself is still free, but it is getting bombed a lot by the Russians. This was very interesting. The one of the guys I follow, one of the military guys on Twitter mentioned, he said, actually, it looks like the Ukrainians did more just say that they have counterattacked near Izium. I never pronounced it right. Izium is one of those towns south of Kharkiv. They seem to have said that they believe the Battle of Donbas, the region in the east, has changed phases from a Russian offensive to an overall Ukrainian counteroffensive. And he wrote, So it looks like the Ukrainians are claiming today that the battle in the east has now shifted from the Russians pushing ahead and the Ukrainians defending to the Ukrainians now taking the lead in pushing back at the Russians. And the Russians are now on the defense. That would be huge news. And actually very interesting, because it's almost a little early, maybe not, I shouldn't say early, but we were thinking it may take a few weeks for the American and NATO and German and everybody's weapons to get there. So that's really good news. Let me update you on the steel plant in Mariupol. A lot going on with that. Just in case anybody hasn't been following the news, Mariupol is this town in southeastern Ukraine. Thank you, Doug, for that. Southeastern Ukraine, very pivotal town, because the Russians need it in order to create this huge swath of, new Russia that they're going to take by stealing from Ukraine. The Russians already stole Crimea, which is the peninsula in the south. Thank you, Keith. This peninsula in the south of Ukraine. They stole it in 2014. They're trying to steal the east right now. That's where they are in Ukraine. And they want a land bridge between the east and Crimea. So actually, Crimea would be like this. So they can have this huge swath that they make Russia. And what do you know? It connects to Russia further east. So Mariupol is right in the middle of that. They've got to take Mariupol to get everything. There have been thousands of military holdouts in this huge steel plant built during the Soviet era. It is apparently hardened for nuclear war. I mean, it is next to impossible for the Russians to get into this thing. They have been bombing it for weeks. It has been killing people inside, because there were 1,000 civilians inside, 1,000 military guys as well. Several hundred civilians were released, but not all of them. The Russians are playing games, of course. But the bottom line with Mariupol is Putin wanted to clean up Mariupol. He wanted to say he won Mariupol. He said, and you may remember this, a week or a week and a half ago, Putin finally said, "We have won. I declare victory in Mariupol. I am removing my troops. We won." Thank you, Wayne, for that. Or was it Wagner? Wagner. I'm removing my troops because we won, and we're no longer going to bomb the steel factory or even try to invade it with our troops because they don't matter anymore. Remember, he said they were going to seal them up as if they were putting them like in a concrete sarcophagus or something, right? Well, what happened for the next 2 weeks after that? Putin has been bombing this thing nonstop, and now he's reportedly sent his troops in to try to manually take the place over, going through the halls. Well, this is great because John Spencer, who I've mentioned to you guys before, he's an urban warfare expert, basically an expert on how armies take or defend cities. Because when you go through a city, it's an entirely different deal than fighting in the countryside. The countryside, big open fields, artillery, whatever. In a city, you're going street by street with high rises. People are dropping Molotov cocktails out of the windows on top of you. Like it's you've got to go building by building and clear it out. It's crazy, right? Well, he says these series of tunnels are worse than the worst city for the Russians in terms of the difficulty. It is going to be far harder for the Russians to take these tunnels. And this tunnel, mind you, is the size of a city. I mean, this plant is literally, it's the size of a small town. It's crazy. It is going to be harder for the Russians to take the plant than it would be to take a city, he said. He said they simply do not have the men to do it. They've only left around 2,000 soldiers, the Russians did, in Mariupol now. They absolutely do not have enough men to take it. They don't have the training to take it. He said they're sending regular soldiers in, and you can't send regular soldiers because he said, for example, a regular soldier gets into that fighting with all the mazes, because imagine it's a steel factory. It's a factory with, you've seen it in the movies, like all those corridors with the lights and the steam coming out. That's what it looks like. He said, you fire your weapon in one of those hallways and you will go deaf because the echo and the reverberation of the gun going off, you will literally go deaf. So you have to have special things for your ears to, kill the sound. There's no way. I mean, I was excited because he basically said there is no way the Russians can take this place. The bad side is he also feels there's no way these guys can get out, that the military that's defending, this is going to be their Alamo. This is their last stand. He just doesn't, there's no way for them to get out. But I didn't even tell you the wildest part. I don't think I told you this. He said thousands of Russians will die if they try to do this. He said at least 2,000 Russians, he thinks, will die if they try to take this plant. It's going to be that difficult for them to take it. Now, all of that is great news for the Ukrainians. What makes this important to talk about isn't just that we've developed our own kind of mythos about this plant, because, a lot of us have been following this. And even it's interesting because even on my show every day, people are asking and going, hey, what's up with the steel plant? Like we've developed this kind of personal interest in what's going on. It's more than that. I had said on the show, I probably said yesterday, but I know I said on one of my videos this morning, and I said that I thought Putin was trying to get this plant because he wanted to declare victory over the plant, over all of Mariupol. And mind you, the fighters inside the plant in Mariupol are this Azov battalion that used to be far right, and I'm told by Ukrainians have now evolved, and they're no longer kind of scary far right people. But it's the Azov people. It's the people that Putin still calls, Enzis or Yahtzees. That was the phrase I was told to use so as not to get the censors upset with me on TikTok and YouTube. They're the people the Russians called, Yahtzees, meaning Enzis, right? Well, if Putin's able to beat Azov and take Mariupol before May 9th, the big victory day with the big nuclear weapons going down the street in Moscow, and Putin declares, it's the commemoration of the defeat of the Nazis, and Putin's able to say, we defeated the Nazis again. We defeated Azov. So that, anyway, aid to the Ukrainian president came out today and said I was very proud of myself, said just that. He said, Putin wants to defeat Azov by May 9th so he can say, I defeated the Nazis and took Mariupol. Well, nobody thinks Putin's going to be able to do this in 3 days. They've been bombing nonstop. They've got 3 days left. Today's the 5th. Okay, 4 days left. There's no way. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. It's actually very interesting how badly this is going for him. Now, actually, I'm going to play you this. There's a video I saw earlier, and I was able to find the song. It is by Nick Mark, is the guy's name. He is one of the fighters that is holed up inside the steel plant. He's one of them. He's with them. And he took a video of them recently. They're still able to get video out. I don't know if they're using that Starlink network or whatever it's called, the Elon Musk one that's going to end up causing, Terminator to come alive. But somehow they've been able to communicate. He took a video of the fighters sitting around in the dark. So clearly it's, whatever. I don't want to say nighttime because it's nighttime all the time. They're probably sitting around in the dark with their guns and they're singing. And there's one woman taking the lead and she's one of the fighters is a woman, which is also kind of neat to see a Ukrainian woman as a fighter with the gun, right? Very equal, very equality going on here in Ukraine. And the song, I'm going to play a little bit because it's just lovely. The song is the anthem of the Ukrainian army. Because somebody told me, I Googled the words, and I'm going to read you just two stanzas. I'm going to read you just two stanzas of it, just so you get a sense. But it's really beautiful, but it's also incredibly poignant that it's taking place under these circumstances. And the song is about 100 years old or so. It deals with back. I am not up on my history here, but back like 1919 or so, there was a war with the Poles. And then the Soviet Revolution as well. And the Poles and the Soviets took land from Ukraine. Well, the Soviets took all of Ukraine, but the Poles took some land too. And this song was written about that, I believe. So it's about a good 100 years old. Let me just turn up my volume. As always, I'll kind of hold it here, but you'll get the picture. Actually, I'll pull up my mic too. All right, guys, I'm going to find this. It's not this, I do not think. No. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Turn it sideways.
Ми великої години з пожеж війни і полум'я вогнів з'єднав нас біль по втраті України, кормив нас змів, міцність на ворогів.
Turn this way for the mic. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Мою життєвому твердій міцні, незламні як граніт, бо плач не дасть свободи ще нікому, а хто борець, той здобуде.
I'm going to read this a little bit. And here we walk in the battle of life, solid, durable, unbreakable like granite. For crying hasn't given freedom to anyone yet. But whoever is a fighter, he conquers the world. We don't want glory nor payment. Payment for us is the luxury of fighting. It is sweeter for us to die in battle than to live in bondage as mute slaves. It's going to go a little longer because, like I said, I just think it's beautiful.
Наш гордий клич народові несе, вітчизні ти, будь вірний до загину нам Україна вище понад все, веде нас в бій, бійців слава для нас закон, найвищий то наказ, соборна українська держава, вільна і міцна.
There's the other guys.
Соборна українська держава, вільна і міцна, вісяний по Кавказ.
Отак ми і боремося у місті Герої Маріуполь.
All I understood, I think at the end was heroin Mariupol. I'm not sure if he was saying Mariupol's heroin. But if anybody speaks Russian or Ukrainian, maybe you can tell us what those last words were. Oh my God, I got chills. I mean, I had to play the whole thing. It just was the most amazing song. That blew me away. And if it can, even just hearing it in a language you don't speak and you're watching this, I mean, I got chills. You're watching this, and actually I lightened it up a little bit. It was just the guy's flashlight on each of their faces. So literally the video was a dark and this flashlight on her face and the flashlight on the next. So I amplified it a little. It was even creepier or maybe more poignant. Was it the heroes of Mariupol? Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was heroines or I heard hero Mariupol. Yep. Oh, anyway, just amazing. These guys are amazing. Yeah. In any case, you can see why I wanted to play you that. It's been a very good news day, actually. I'm telling you, very interesting news day. So a lot of positive stuff here today. Is that the woman CNN announced died today? Oh God, I don't know, Alyssa. Jeez. I don't know. God, I hope not. So other news. So there was an announcement last night, not an announcement. It was an article in maybe the New York Times, I'm forgetting where, that an American official had confirmed that U.S. intelligence helped kill multiple Russian generals in Ukraine. And as you know, there's somewhere around 11 or 12 generals that have been killed now. It's not entirely clear. It's not entirely clear. And I always tell people, the good thing about this is that there have been so many Russian generals killed that we can no longer keep track. But somewhere around 11 or 12. And what the American intelligence official said, or American officials said, was that, yes, in fact, U.S. intelligence did help figure out who they were, so the Ukrainians were able to kill them. At the time, I thought it was a bit odd that we were admitting such a thing, because it kind of, that's kind of the thing you do and they assume you do, but you don't necessarily admit you do, because then it makes the Russians almost have to strike back at us somehow, because we're literally admitting we killed their general, or we didn't kill their generals, but So what happens is next. So the U.S. today is kind of denying it. We're saying, well, we give them lots of intelligence, but we don't give them intelligence to kill generals. We never said, hey, here's some intelligence to kill the generals. I mean, I guess they could go and try to arrest the generals. So, there's that. But, the other issue is there's a story, literally just out. And I literally just saw this before I came on with you guys, that the intelligence officials are now saying that we provided the intelligence that helped the Ukrainians sink the Moskva. We told them it was there. We told them where it was. I don't know all the details, because literally I saw the story right before we came out, but the U.S. provided the intelligence that helped the Ukrainians sink it, which means the Russians are going to be livid. And what will be interesting, John D is saying, who is Ukrainian, is saying about 9 generals were killed in the first 2 weeks by the Ukraine without any help. Well, that's the interesting thing too, is that the Ukraine, remember, all these generals were killed like immediately. A ton of them. So anyway, very good. Actually, that's the other thing. What I will say this, John D, what they were saying on the news too today was that, in fact, what John is saying is correct, is we provided them with intelligence, but what our guys were saying was, we provided them with some intelligence, but in many cases, the Ukrainian intelligence was even better than ours. So they were able to pinpoint these guys in terms of hitting them much better than we could. Nonetheless, these stories are out there. It's kind of interesting, and I'm particularly interested that that now we've got the Moskva as well, which is, remember the big ship that became a submarine? I just, I'd like us to not take credit. We don't want to take credit from the Ukrainians, but oh my God, interesting. That's what I'm sorry. Igor says that at the end of the song I played of the defenders of Mariupol, the guy said at the end, it's how we are still standing in Hero City, Mariupol. Interesting. Wow. Any case, what I don't see is why you want to make claims like this. I think it's a little weird. It's a little weird for politicians to be saying these, not politicians, but for sources to be saying this kind of thing. I think it's probably true. Personally, but I shall put out what MT History is saying. Making claims like this is not accidental. That's for sure. Yes. Chances are we are not the sole source, or possibly at all, for intel on these hits, but rather a misdirection from the true intel source. Now that's fascinating. Okay, that is a fascinating point. So MT History Buff is raising on TikTok. You guys are TikTok. YouTube, I've got on my screen down here, is raising on YouTube a couple points. First of all, saying it is likely not an accident that a U.S. official claimed credit to the New York Times or Politico or whoever it was. And I think he's right about that. These kind of things, that would be too big of a breach. Basically, this is wartime. Way too big of a breach. It was intentional. The question becomes, why was it intentional? He's saying that it could be intentional because it's trying to defer attention from the real source. Now, that's the real source of the intelligence. For example, let me say, and literally, this is totally hypothetical conjecture. I got nothing to say this, but I'm trying in my head to go, well, who would we be trying to protect? Are the Germans going to be embarrassed that they helped? Are the Poles going to be embarrassed? Maybe the Poles a little bit because they're closer, right? But the Germans aren't going to care. The Brits, Boris Johnson would love to claim credit for killing some generals and sinking the Moskva. You know who wouldn't want to get credit? Israel. I have no idea whether Israel has any kind of intelligence abilities in the area. They may not. It may be too far away. But that's the kind of situation where we would want to lie publicly in order to take attention away from them. But who knows? Very interesting. And I agree with MT History, though. It could easily be a deflection, but wow, fascinating. Let's talk. Germany. So Germany Sometimes we knock Germany. Sometimes we like Germany. This is good. We are having a good German day here. Germany says today, German's Chancellor Scholz, that the sanctions, the Western sanctions, will not be lifted until Ukraine approves. Now, I don't know what power he has to institute that or to hold the European Union to that. But what is good about that is first of all, it is a statement of standing for the sanctions, which is good, because one of the things we're always going to worry about with the sanctions is how long are they going to go for? Will the Europeans, the Americans, whoever start to weaken and say, special interest companies start lobbying us, that kind of thing. So this is saying, first of all, to our own people and our own companies, we ain't going anywhere. Second of all, it's telling Russia, we ain't going anywhere. So you better plan long-term, Russia, for these sanctions to be in existence and decide if this is worth it. What is also going on, which I really like with this, is it is empowering Ukraine. It is making clear to the Russians that Ukraine holds all the cards, that Zelensky holds all the cards. And if you want this war to end in any way, and I don't just mean end, the fighting, but you want these sanctions to go away, you better make that guy happy. And if you don't make that guy happy, the sanctions aren't ending. Now, again, I hope we will hold to this. But to me, that's the most interesting aspect of this, is the empowerment of Zelensky that we are doing to give him control of the sanctions, to say when he's happy. That is an amazing development. And it kind of shows you again how we've gone from the beginning of the war to now, where, there was a lot of reticence, especially from the Germans, mind you. I mean, I don't mean reticence. The Germans were not reticent at the beginning, but Scholz has had a little bit of a back and forth. For Scholz to be the one saying that too is exactly very powerful. And I also love the fact that it came from Scholz. That was very good. Belarus. So I think our Lithuanian friends or our Latvian friends, thank you for that, May, for Disney, were worrying yesterday about Belarus moving troops around, all sorts of stuff. And I was saying how personally I would not be worried if I were them, because they're members of NATO. And, if these guys touch them, it's war. There's no way Belarus is going to touch them. But the latest news now is Belarus is doing this, military exercise with Russia. They're trying to scare everybody, of course. And UK intelligence from the United Kingdom, the defense intelligence, says that Russia may use the military exercise in Belarus to deter Ukrainian forces. Now, listen to what they said, because this is something I talked about with regards to Moldova as well. Same logic here. Listen. Although the UK Defense Ministry does not see a threat in the exercise currently, Russia will likely seek to inflate the threat posed to Ukraine by the training in order to fix Ukrainian, and I love this word fix because we don't use it in English like this very much, but the Europeans do and the French do. I use it in English sometimes because it's in French. You use it this way, and in American English, at least I don't use it this way in American English, but they're using the threat posed by the exercise to fix Ukrainian forces in the north and prevent them from being committed to the battle for the Donbass. In other words, they're using the threat of these exercises, the exact discussion we had yesterday, like, oh, should we be worried? Saying, well, there's always a chance those troops could come down into Ukraine. So now Ukraine has to keep, I don't know, several thousand troops. Thank you for that, Tom. Is that Tom, I think? It has to keep several thousand troops in the north just in case Belarus and Russia do something, instead of moving those troops to the east and fighting in the east where they're needed. So it's a way of siphoning the troops off. I said the same thing about Transnistria with Moldova, that it is entirely possible all the BS going on there is simply to force Ukraine to move several thousand troops just in case. And then those troops get taken away from the front. And in fact, Ukraine did say in the last couple of days, it has moved several thousand troops, or at least however many troops, but a lot of troops over there just in case. So that was interesting. Pentagon said briefly that Russian airstrikes in the West have failed to interfere with U.S. arms transfers. Thank you, Zontos, for that. The Russians have been hitting, especially recently, Lviv, the town of Lviv, and the infrastructure on there. Thank you. Oh, and that's Brenda and Zontos. Thank you, guys. Have been hitting the electrical infrastructure, and it's the electrical infrastructure that fuels the railways. The railways. And so I'm looking at TikTok to thank you guys as I'm talking, and it's throwing my speech. Zontos, thank you. But it's used to give electricity to the railroads. And the Russians are trying to interfere with the infrastructure so they can stop the arms shipments from going across Ukraine, right? Because the arms, we assume the arms are coming in from the West. Well, the arms from the west are coming in through the west of Ukraine across Poland and then need to be transferred across the country. So the Russians are trying to blow up the railroads to stop that. So far, it's had no effect. With Belarus, let me mention one other thing with Belarus. I meant to mention this and I forgot. One second. There's a lot of news, but it's all good news today. Lukashenko, who's the dictator, does an interview seemingly with the Associated Press is what I read. And in the interview, he sounds like he's kind of backing away from Putin. It's very strange. Listen to this. Now, first was a quick summary that Hanna Lyubakova, who I follow, I think she's a Ukrainian journalist, or activist, but I think journalist, who did a little translation, and then I'm going to give you a direct translation of more of the interview. So this is Lukashenko, the dictator of Belarus, who's Putin's best friend. She says Lukashenko pretends that he's not involved in Russia's war on Ukraine in this interview. Oh, thank you for the lights there, Disney. He now says that the operation is taking too much effort and is too long, right? He clearly sees that Putin didn't achieve any goals, but we need to make sure that Lukashenko doesn't avoid. So let me read some of the Lukashenko quotes. The reporter says, if we could return to the strategy and the future of this war, you mentioned weapons that could be used. Is there a possibility that if this war continues, a nuclear strike is possible? Lukashenko, and mind you, Putin's been threatening that. So if Lukashenko's defending Putin, he should say, yes, it is possible if the West doesn't back down or whatever, right? He says, absolutely, I believe. So he doesn't mean absolutely. He says, I believe absolutely that the use of nuclear weapons is unacceptable, no less because it's happening right next to us, because Belarus is right next to Ukraine. We are right here. We are not over the ocean like the USA, but also this can deorbit our planet. Oh, interesting. Deorbit our planet. I think he means knock the planet out of its orbit, which is interesting. And we will fly. He does mean that. Oh my God. This can deorbit our planet and we will fly God knows where. I think he's wrong. Maybe I'm not wrong. I think he's wrong, but honestly, what the hell? If he thinks it's going to, if this is helping us, let him think it's going to send the earth God knows where. Could Russia do it or not? This question you need to ask from the leadership of Russia. Most likely, he, meaning Putin, doesn't want a global conflict with NATO. Use this, and do everything so it doesn't happen. So he basically says Putin will have a global conflict with NATO if he uses nuclear weapons, and most likely Putin does not want a global conflict with NATO. Well, Putin's been saying from day one, he's making it sound like he wants a conflict with NATO. So to me, the fact that Belarus, that the dictator who's best friends with Putin would say Putin doesn't want to have war with NATO, and that's the same thing as saying Putin's afraid of a war with NATO. And notice how this whole debate has shifted. Notice how at the beginning, and I was getting upset at Biden and some others who kept talking about how much we did not want war with Russia, right? We were like, oh, it'll be World War III. It'll be nuclear war. Biden kept saying World War III, I was going to kill him. It was like, stop it. Because I felt like it was signaling to Putin that we are afraid of getting into war with him, of going to war with him. Well, now the opposite's happening. Now Putin's allies are telling us, oh, he really is afraid of going to war with you. That's very powerful, but it shows how things have shifted. Small story about Sweden and NATO. Sweden confirms that it has received a U.S. security assurance if it applies for NATO membership. Now, what this means is, and mind you, the NATO stuff we should be hearing in the next 10 days or so, whether Sweden and Finland are going to apply. But what this means is, once you're a member of NATO, if somebody attacks you, it is considered an attack on all NATO countries, and they will come rushing to your defense. The problem is, if you apply to NATO, and NATO takes 2 months to review the application before they say yes, somebody can attack you in those 2 months. And the concern is that this could inspire Putin to attack attack Sweden or Finland, those 2 months between when they maybe let's say May 15th, May 16th, they say, yes, we want to join. Thank you, pissed up for that. They say, yes, we want to join. Maybe it takes until June, July, August until they join. In the meantime, Putin can attack them, and there's no security guarantee they're on their own. And he would attack them to stop them from joining NATO. In this case, they're not going to say the exact assurance, but it seems pretty clear that the U.S. is saying, we will consider you a member of NATO, and if Putin attacks you, he's attacking the United States, and we will treat it as such, which makes it clear to the Russians, But that was good news to see. And it also means this is my last page of news. I think that gets Sweden one step closer to being comfortable with accepting joining NATO, because they need that kind of assurance. And it also shows, frankly, it shows that's a hell of a commitment for the United States to make, right? I mean, if they're not a member of NATO yet, for the United States to say, we would go to war for you, Sweden, even if you're not a member of NATO, that's a big deal. And I just think it establishes even more trust. It shows more of the maybe maturing of the relationship between the U.S. and Sweden. It's very good. The bit of bad news, Russia has started changing the names of Ukrainian villages in the southern Ukraine. They're changing them back to the old Soviet names that they had before the fall of the Soviet Union. We're talking 30 years ago they had these names. I bring it up because this is part of the de-Ukrainization of Ukraine, where they're literally trying to turn Ukraine. Thank you, Hard Hogs. They're literally trying to change Ukraine into Russia, and they're basically going to absorb it into Russia. So that's not very nice. Two final stories that are pretty positive, so to speak. No, pretty positive. One was I did not see this story. Some woman with a red flag at the beginning of the war. I didn't see it. A woman in the north, when the Russians were invading, that old Babushka, old grandma, comes out of her house and thinks the Russians are attacking. So she comes out of her house waving a Soviet flag she had. Actually, she had a Soviet flag, waving a Soviet flag she had to welcome them. And the Russians made a big deal about it. They were going to do a big thing to this woman. I forgot what they did. They did some kind of, they installed a monument to her in Mariupol. Apparently today it says, they installed a monument to her today in Mariupol, because the Russians are saying she's a hero of the revolution, the Ukrainian who admitted the Russians, the Soviets were better, right? Well, the truth is, I don't have her exact quote. I read the interview of her today, and she basically, as I said, the truth is, her name is Anna Ivanovna, is not so keen on the Russian presence anymore after they shelled her house. Well, they bombed the woman's house with artillery shells, and she gave this interview, and she says, I just came out of the house with the flag because I figure they won, and I didn't want the killing to continue, and I thought the best way was to make peace. She goes, and then they blew up my house. So I don't mean to laugh, but it's not funny for the poor woman. But what's funny is just the whole thing of the Russians claiming she's the great symbol of, Russian unity in Ukraine or whatever the hell it is. And then they blew up her house. And now she's not their friend anymore. The last one, and again, gross story, but with a happy angle, so to speak. One of the Russian troops, this is the last one, one of the Russian troops that was in Bucha. And Bucha, you remember, is the town that, the huge war crime town, although let's face it, we're going to find war crimes everywhere at this point, right? But the huge war crime town, and the town where the troops came in, the media came in. We saw the one guy with his hands tied behind his back, bullet in the mouth or the head. Horrific crimes these guys did against humanity. One of the soldiers, now we don't know if he's one of the war crime soldiers, but he's clearly part of the unit. One of the soldiers leaves on a girl's wall in her bedroom. He writes his handle for his Instagram account. Now, it's a little different than the Instagram account itself, because I went and checked, and sadly, it's Wolf_68, I believe. Yeah, Wolf line 68. Well, sadly, Wolf68 on Instagram is some Italian guy and all of his friends are Italian, so I guarantee you it's not the same guy. This poor guy is having a very bad week. Let me just say that. Because he has every Ukrainian and everyone from around the world now going on his Instagram account. But the good thing was, I looked a few accounts down and found who is very likely the guy, because literally it's 4 accounts down from this, and it includes Wolf_68 in the account. People had already discovered this guy's account. Oh, thank you for that. Is it Zontos? Zontos, I think that was you. Have already discovered the account and left tons of comments. Many of them were about sunflowers and fertilizer. But my favorite, and a lot of these are translated from Ukrainian, okay? My favorite, and again, I'm not sure I totally understand it because it was translated from Ukrainian, but it's so freaking great, it doesn't matter. Listen to this quote. So that, meaning I hope that. It's exactly. I know this from other languages I know, like, may it be that. So may it be that your corpse is spread by crows, you miserable spawn of Satan. So that your corpse be spread by crows, miserable spawn of Satan. And I just thought that was the most wonderful, like evocative, kind of angry. I could just see some like old Greek woman in Greece just hitting you with this, and it's a curse, hitting you with this curse. But absolutely wonderful. Again, wonderful in a really bad way. Thank you, Canadians. Oh, that's pretty. I never remember if I've seen that one before. Thank you. Because we're talking about Bucha, so it can only be so good, but you know. All right, guys, we are done with that. I will jump into the Q&A. The news was a little long today, but it was good stuff. And again, it was sort of happy stuff, so I was glad that we were getting the happier stuff at this point. So, all right, let's jump in. Guys, I will say, if you, like I said before, on YouTube, if you had questions, post them now, because scrolling back is really difficult, because the YouTubers, you all talk amongst yourselves, which is fabulous, but it makes it hard. And on TikTok, I will jump right in because you put your questions via the Q&A box at the bottom, which I love, and it makes it easy. Russian warship off of Hawaii, Navy on standby. I don't know if that's true, but it would not surprise me. It would be in accordance with what the Russians have been doing to Sweden, especially. The Russians like to do... Sorry, Mama Kendra. I'm laughing because Mama Kendra says she left a comment on the guy's Instagram today. It was pretty... You know what? He's a Russian soldier anyway. He showed videos in mid-April going to bars with his buddies in uniform, which to me means I think he was in Ukraine. I think so. So anyway, back to this Russian warship. I would not be surprised if a Russian warship is off of Hawaii. As I've talked about before, as much as the military guys get worried because a possible accident and things like that, and that is true. You can have an accident when they do this because the Russians really like to get too close. For example, they will buzz our airplanes, our fighter jets, and they will get within like 50 feet of our fighter jets, something just incredibly dangerous where it would be very easy to have an accident. And then you've got an accident where either an American jet has knocked a Russian out of the sky or a Russian's knocked an American, right? And then do we have retaliation, right? So very, very important thing. Well, having said that, the Russians aren't attacking Hawaii. Because if they attack Hawaii, we're going to attack them. And I've got news for the Russians right now. If they think the Ukrainians are bad, wait until America joins the war, right? There's no way they can afford. Thank you. I saw the corgi. Thank you on TikTok. So I wouldn't be worried, but they're playing games. They're trying to threaten. I guess, think of the Russians as a, 12, 13-year-old bully, maybe even an 8-year-old bully, but a kid who doesn't know what's going on and thinks by threatening you, like, especially now as an adult, that's somehow supposed to scare you. And you're kind of watching them going, oh, thank you, Cammie, for that. And you're watching them just going, yeah, I'm really scared. You sent some warships off of Hawaii. Ooh, scary. Are you going to take Hawaii and start a nuclear war? I don't think so. So what are you doing? You're trying to scare me and make me upset. Yeah, bye. Go visit your submarine, So that's my response to it. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's some of what's happening. Indeed. What's this? Oh God. The thing is, I will not call myself an expert on 2014. Bottom line, I'm glad the bad guy was thrown out. He was a Soviet puppet. It was a people's revolution. People's revolutions are fine with me when they're overthrowing dictators and when they're legitimate and not like crazy people. And it ushered in a democratic revolution. And Ukraine then had elections, and in those elections that were free and fair, they picked the guy they wanted. And the other guy, hang on a second, I'll give you a couple different interesting things here. And Daniel, you're fabulous. Thank you for that. I'm asterisking it so I don't forget. And the best part was the two guys. It was Zelensky and Poroshenko. I'm trying to remember the guy he was running against in the last election. I always get the names mixed up of you guys, you Ukrainians, sorry. But the guy he was running against, apparently they were not friends after the election. And they came together, according to the Time magazine piece, the reporter embedded with Zelensky for like 2 weeks. And according to the Time magazine piece, the two of them got together like the first day of the war, got together, shook hands, and the loser said to the president, anything you want is yours. Politics is one thing, but we are now one country. It was the most beautiful thing this guy said to him. So, you know what? I'm totally okay with the Ukrainians overthrowing a Russian despot. So no problem with that. I'm sorry. Here we go. Oh, this is the guy? Oh my, is this Syndicate? Is this the guy who, sorry, Syndicate is writing about the name of a Russian soldier, Kirill, I assume it's a Russian soldier, Kirill Khrushchev. Is he the guy who runs the Twitter, the Instagram account? That may be the Instagram account that was written on the girl's wall. Let me know, and then I'm jumping to Daniel's question next. Yep, wow. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, bottom line is, thank you, Borderline. I appreciate that. The little birds. Bottom line, this guy is a Russian soldier, and he's posting videos in the middle of April that show him at a bar with his little buddies in his uniform, which to me means he was in Ukraine or about to go to Ukraine. And as far as I'm concerned, hit him with all the hell you want. These are not good guys. Poroshenko, there you go. Okay, thank you. I thought that was the name, but I always get confused with the bad guy. Petroshenko, the bad guy that was overthrown by the People's Revolution. Put the name again real quick for me, guys, and then I'm going to go on in YouTube or TikTok. So I'm sorry. Let me go to Daniel's question. And Daniel, you are incredibly generous. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Offended as an Irish person, Russian TV showed a nuclear tidal wave wiping out Great Britain. It clearly showed Ireland getting wiped out too. They did at least name check us days later by calling us Yahtzees Yahtzees, except the Yahtzees are the word we use for the NZs because we try not to say their names so we don't freak out. Oh, Yanukovych, that's it. I never remember Yanukovych. Who's Poroshenko? Oh, no, Poroshenko's the good guy. Yeah, Yanukovych is the one I never remember. Sorry. Any case, that's funny. They did at least name check us days later by calling us NZs along with the rest of Europe. Yeah, the problem is, I wouldn't say I'm kidding, of course. The problem is you need nukes, Daniel. Get nuclear weapons and they're going to be a little more upset with you. Of course, Britain might be a little more upset with you too. Who knows? But that's very funny. No, that stuff, is so, I hope in Ireland they take it the same way. It's just so absurd. And this is why I've been telling people, like, I get that our military does not like when Viktor Yanukovych, okay, exactly. I get why our military does not like when Russia runs around talking about nuclear weapons and nuclear war and everything else, because it's true. First of all, it's incredibly immature. Who knows? Some lunatic general or somebody is listening to Putin and these guys and says, "Oh, Putin said I should nuke them." You never know. It's not very safe, and it sets you up for a situation where the West now has to be even more attentive to whether Putin's serious, right? Thank you, Anna, for that. Whether Putin's serious, and whether if we see some missile coming at us or something else, we may react, or a fighter jet coming towards Poland and shoot it down because people are on edge. So it's not very safe. Having said that, assuming everyone's being sane, nobody's going to nuclear war. Nobody's doing it. And the idea that they're going to attack Great Britain, especially like I said the other day, when Britain, let alone America, but Britain has got nuclear submarines, is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, Linda Khan. I put it up so the mods could see you think they're awesome too. So you can think they're awesome too. There we go. Oh, and Syndicate, sorry, real quick. Well, I think John is about to block your Russian-loving ass is what's about to happen on YouTube there, Bubba. I installed TikTok on my laptop just because the sound quality is better, so I have both TikTok and YouTube open, but the YouTube sound is off, so I can hear the click talk. That's cute. Or click talk, I'm calling it now. All right, let me go and check. Thank you again, Daniel, for that. That was really sweet of you. Let me go again and check the Q&A. You TikTokers. I don't think a world war is very likely, but it's a good question to ask. The main character asks, do I think a world war is likely? I don't think so. The thing is, what stopped us from going to a world war in the nuclear era is still relevant today. It's a policy called mutually assured destruction. And the idea is that all sides, in this case, America and Russia, both know that if one side were to launch nuclear weapons, the other side would respond. And because we, the Brits and the Russians, all have a lot of nuclear weapons on nuclear submarines. I think the US maybe has 14. I Googled it the other day. Those submarines cannot be found. They are next to impossible to find, which means they will survive. So if the Russians were to launch an attack first and take out all of America and all of Great Britain, including Ireland, separately from Great Britain, of course, because you're not Ireland, I get that, but meaning in Ireland too, the Brits' submarines would survive and they would destroy Russia. The American submarines would survive and they would destroy Russia. So the same theory that stood years ago, thank you for the little lights, still applies today, where America and Russia and Britain all know that we can't attack each other without getting ourselves destroyed because of our nuclear submarines that would survive. That means unless somebody's insane, it's not going to happen. And as much as, thank you, ladies, Carol, as much as we like to say Putin's crazy, but he's not crazy. I don't think Putin's sitting there, some mad Rasputin in the background or whatever. Even Rasputin, I don't know if he was crazy, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's happening. So I'm not worried about the nuclear war thing. I think there is, I'm sorry, you said world war. I should have gotten more precise. There is always a chance this spins into a bigger war, though. Yes, because as we said, Russia uses tactical nuclear weapons, the small nuclear weapons. Then I don't see how this doesn't become a larger war, especially with Poland on the border. I think Poland would basically say that's it. So I think you run that risk of it becoming at least a larger war against Russia and maybe Belarus. Belarus at that point will probably go, okay, we've had enough of this. We're backing out. But I'm not sure I see a lot of other people pulling it off. I don't know. Thank you for the TikTok. Yeah, I just don't. In any case, the war could expand. So I'm not saying it couldn't expand, but I guess when I read World War, I think of World War, the danger of nuclear weapons and everything. I don't see that happening. But if Putin's dumb enough, he could drag NATO into this, and then it becomes a larger war. That's certainly possible. Let me see here. All right. As always, you guys are. How can the blockade be broken? Well, this is interesting. It depends if you mean the blockade in the sea. I was reading about this the other day. Well, I'm going to answer that question anyway, in case that was you were saying, PBJ. So the question was, how can the blockade be broken? And I'm assuming we're talking about the sea blockade of Ukraine. Ukraine is, landlocked everywhere except on the Black Sea, and the Russians have stolen now a bunch of that territory. Right, that whole territory along the coast from eastern Russia to Crimea, the big peninsula they stole. So all of that's been stolen, and Ukraine still has a segment of land by Odessa and that whole area that's free. But the Russians now have their ships in the Black Sea, as we know, and the ships have created an effective embargo or blockade of the Ukrainian ports. So the Ukrainians, for example, cannot ship their wheat and their grain, which cannot go to the rest of the world. So not only are the Ukrainians not making money, but African governments are now getting worried about famine and things like that. And one thing I was reading was, for example, I'm trying to think now, certainly one of the points somebody raised to me was Israeli weapons. If they got some really good Israeli weapons, the Russians would be in real trouble. There still might be, I don't remember if there are some German weapons that could, like some NATO weapons that could help as well. But the idea was getting some really good anti-ship weapons that go much farther than, say, 60 miles, 70 miles. These things, I want to say these things, I'll remember this actually. One of the weapons they were talking about could hit ships as far as near the Bosporus, near the straits, right? So those straits, when you're coming into the Black Sea via Turkey, the Turkish waters, and you got those straits you come through, it could hit from the Ukrainian mainland almost as far as that, but I don't remember whose weapon this is, but they were saying if Ukraine can get some weapons like that, that could be enough that they could open up basically their own corridor in the sea by basically bombing any Russian ship that dares enter the corridor. Now, you got a little problem with submarines, and I'm not sure how that would work in that case. But I've always said from the beginning, I think NATO should send some ships, or even better, the Pope. Pope should send some ships. And just be like, I'm sending them ships. They're under Polish flag, and you're going to let them in. And if you don't let them in, too bad. Good luck bombing a Polish ship, right? Let me see. So, Supernova, do you think Putin is letting us think he's insane to make it more wary of his potential actions? Yes. I think Putin is happy for us to think that he's crazy or whatever. Actually, it's the very reason the Russians keep talking about nuclear war. Russia One, which is a state propaganda news organization. I mean, it's a state news station, or not even news station, but state TV station. So remember, the state, they don't say anything that isn't approved, or at least in line with the approved line of the Kremlin. And they're the ones talking every day about nuking. I guarantee you, probably the quotes about nuking Great Britain came by some guest on the evening show on Russia One. They've been doing it every night. And they're doing it to try to scare us and to try to make us think. Again, think about this. The first And again, I think we fed it. That's the one mistake. It's one big mistake that I think the West made. We fed it at the beginning. We went along with that whole, oh, it could be nuclear war. We don't want to engage with Russia militarily. It'll be nuclear war. It'll be World War III. So we don't want to, remember the planes. Oh, the planes. Maybe we'll give Polish planes. Maybe we won't. Oh, Poland wants to give them to America. America's too afraid. Poland's too afraid. And it became this whole, we can't give them planes or Russia's going to get mad. Well, then other equipment. Remember, then there was some tanks that they didn't get. There was all sorts of equipment coming up where Ukraine didn't get it because everyone in the West got afraid of Putin. Well, that started telling Putin, they're afraid of me. And if you're afraid of me, I'm going to start saying crazier and crazier stuff to try to make you think, to make you really afraid of me. He's erratic. Who knows what he'll do? So, yeah, unfortunately, we enabled it. Now, Putin, unfortunately, is not unfortunately, I think laughingly, is still putting out the same talking point, except he hasn't caught up to the fact that it's like the Wizard of Oz when you pull the curtain back. The curtain's been pulled back and everybody's laughing at him at this point. And he's still going, he's still this little 3-inch man going, nuclear war. And we're all going, how adorable, the little 3-inch man talking about his nuclear weapons. How cute. Or 3-inch in other ways. But yeah, so I think absolutely he's doing stuff to try to scare people. Is my nephew into graphic design as a hobby? He's not a graphic designer, but he'd have to tell you himself. He does a lot of he's been very internet savvy from the beginning. He actually does a lot of marketing. He's a marketing chief almost chief, I think, for a big company doing other stuff out there. But he has incorporated a ton of internet stuff into it. So I don't think he could make a video like that, but he knows a lot about the internet and doing stuff. And he was very impressed. I mean, I do too. So I was very impressed, but I showed it to him and he literally said, holy shit. And oh my God, when he saw the video you did. Syndicate did, by the way, Syndicate, who I'm talking to right now, who put up the question, did a wonderful video that I put on TikTok. You guys, it's one of my last videos I put up where it's pretty much just the Ukrainian national anthem, but this really kind of rugged version of the anthem, promoting my TikTok, but also promoting the fundraiser we're doing to help the food groups, I keep calling them food groups, the food aid groups, the hunger groups in Kharkiv that are passing out food to everybody. And he did this wonderful video, but it's so cool. Anyway, you have to check it out on TikTok. I was just blown away. It was so cool. So yes, I was showing it to my nephews. He was very impressed. But oops, sorry. Here, let me see. And Kisa, very sweet of you. Oh, he loved it. Yeah, he loved it. What else we got going on here? Thank you. No, I appreciate it, Syndicate. I may even ask you to come up with something else specific in the future. We'll have to see, but if you don't mind, but that was ridiculously good. I mean, even he got the music. It was this version of the national anthem of Ukraine that was just this almost like a war kind of going version. It was really cool. Okay, let me, sorry, question on TikTok from THC Trump. I've seen you before. You're very active here. I always remember your name because of the Trump thing at the end. Any updates from Anonymous? Not lately. Anonymous, the blogger, the hacker collective. Nothing. No, there was that leak several days ago where they broke into like the energy services in Russia or something like that, but nothing since then. No. I mean, there'll be something. They keep going. They've been great. Anonymous can be controversial, meaning I don't always agree with them because they kind of don't like governments in general. So they really don't like us a lot of times too. But on this, we are all in agreement, just like we are in our countries overall, which I think is kind of neat. Well, interesting question. This is the question of the day. KB, the artist, asks, I'm sorry, not that one, KB. I had a different one here. Where's I lost your question. Here it is. Isaac Standen, your question. What would Russia do if Ukraine starts winning? Well, the thing is, Ukraine has started winning, and that's what's getting interesting. I mean, it's at best a tie, but it's kind of going Ukraine's way. Our generals, at least the retired generals, feel like Russia just doesn't have the manpower, and they're going down every day in terms of they're getting more tired. People are getting killed. The weapons are being destroyed to take over eastern Ukraine. And that is the question: is what will Russia do? Now, currently, it seems like Russia is just trying to throw more men at it. So throw more men and more weapons, but they don't have an endless supply of weapons. They're going to have a hard time building more weapons because of the Western sanctions. The U.S., on the other hand, can, actually the U.S. said today, National Security Advisor said today, Jake Sullivan, that we have an endless supply of production. He said some kind of an endless production of weapons for Ukraine, meaning because they asked him like, well, how many can we afford to give? And he said, endless. We can just keep producing them. Now, mind you, it's going to cost money. So there is that. But the Russians, on the other end, they can't keep producing them. The head of the Russian central bank admitted the other day, and she said, initially the sanctions were hurting the financial sector, but now they were going to start hurting the rest of the economy and really all the economy because, she said, production of anything in Russia, almost everything we produce internally in our factories has some component that comes from outside and is being sanctioned. So, I don't know what they're going to do. He's trying to ramp it up now, but one hopes they get to the point that they're losing so badly that maybe the military or somebody steps in and goes, you know what, Vlad, you've already destroyed. I mean, let's face it, Putin's already destroyed the military's reputation. Oh my God, nobody looks at the Russian military anymore with respect, thanks to Putin. Let me see this. I did not see the thread about the hackers with the UK ventilators. Sorry, what was I pulling up here? Oh, there you go, Kisa. Don't we have a weapon that would knock down nukes? Not really. I was researching that a few weeks ago because the question came up at the start of the war, and I wasn't really up on it. And a number of you weighed in and basically said, not really. And I see you, Madsen. I've got you starred, so I won't lose you there. And I looked into it myself, and yeah, we really don't. I'm guessing part of it was we never got good at it. Like, remember this whole Star Wars thing, the Strategic Defense Initiative with Reagan? It never did very well. That, mind you, was 20, 30 years ago, but it never did very well. Now, from what I was reading, we still don't have much. Part of the problem is sort of the counter defenses. I mean, the Russian missiles, for starters, we all can MIRV, but they MIRV more than we can, meaning the weapons, one rocket, ICBM, can go into the air, and once it gets into orbit or whatever, into space, it opens up and it can let loose up to, I think, 22 nuclear bombs in one rocket. And they're multiple independent reentry vehicles, they're called, meaning independent. They can independently go to different places. So you can have 22 nuclear bombs go all over the United States, for example. I mean, it's horrible stuff. How do you shoot that down? And what the article said was the most efficient way to shoot it down is as it's taking off. Because then at least it's going slowly. It's just coming out of the ground. It hasn't split up yet. But how do you know when it's taking off and what are you hitting it with? So no, they said very difficult, and you can't take out nuclear submarines. There's just no way to hit a nuke. So the problem becomes now you can't get it coming out of a nuclear submarine. It gets into orbit, and once it gets into orbit, then you're screwed because then it starts to split apart. Bottom line is no. There is no good way. There are some things that we can use. They may be able to take out some of them. Again, some of you guys might be bigger experts on the nukes than I am, but they're not great. Like I said, I read up on it a couple of weeks ago, and what I was reading was like, I think even it was a Scientific American or who it was. They were just like, So and in a way, here's the thing. In a way, that's a good thing because it keeps everybody worried about each other. If there were a way to take down nukes, this was the concern about the Strategic Defense Initiative under Reagan. The concern was if the U.S. develops it first, it would allow us to attack Russia and defend ourselves because we would just shoot down the Russian missiles. Well, if I were Russia, the day before that program gets instituted, I might consider bombing the U.S., right? I mean, the thought was that it made things more unstable. Now, unless you developed it and shared it around the world with everybody, so everybody had the system to stop everyone's nukes, maybe, but you can see it can be considered destabilizing as well. Let me just see if you guys had any other questions here. Nope, you're chatting amongst yourselves mostly. Oh, sorry. B Madsen, that's right. You had a couple here. Hang on a second. Let me pull yours up. B. Okay, here's your first one, I think. Given their place in the world and losing the war currently, could Russia just declare victory 5-9 over the land they've seized already and call it over? Yes. The problem becomes, so the question is, could Russia just say, you know what, we're getting our asses kicked. Let's just take the land we've got. We've got Crimea. We've got a portion of eastern Ukraine, and we've got that strip of land going through Mariupol, right? We said connecting Crimea to this strip of land where my thumbs are, right? And couldn't Russia just say, you know what, we got enough. We're declaring victory. Yeah. But guess what? The Ukrainians are going to keep shooting you with artillery. They're going to keep shooting your planes with Stinger missiles, and they're going to, they're going to keep shooting your ships with Neptune missiles and maybe new missiles that we're giving them, or the Germans or somebody else are giving them. So the war won't really stop. Is that Russia could say, I mean, honestly, the best thing ever would be for Russia to say, okay, it's over, and stop fighting, and then the Ukrainians just blow them up. But no, the war won't end, because the Ukrainians are going to go, no freaking way, get off our land. And they're just going to keep fighting. And as they keep fighting, the Russians keep fighting. So Putin could say it. And Putin, my guess is Putin might even say it. He may say it to try to make it look like, oh, I'm the great man of peace. I tried to make peace with the Yahtzees and they wouldn't stop. Right. But in practical terms, nothing will happen as a result of it, other than maybe he thinks he's got some PR angle where he wants to say, oh, I tried. And your second question was, do you think the West would let them get away with that? Oh, no, there you go. No, I don't mind. That was sweet of you. Thank you. You bought two of them anyway, so thank you. No, I mean, it wouldn't be a matter of getting away with it, because Ukraine would just keep fighting them. And and you know what? And there's no way at this point, and one hopes at no point, that the West, now he might be hoping, my guess is he might be hoping for some of the pacifist voices. There was a woman in Germany today, because people were retweeting it, and I think I even retweeted it. I don't remember who she is, but she wasn't nobody. And she gave the quote that said, it is better to have an unjust peace than a just war. And she was suggesting that it's better for Ukraine to just reach a peace deal right now and stop the war, because it's better than it's better than being at war that's a just war, an unjust peace. And it was like, you're from Germany. Do you not understand like the message? I mean, would you have said this during World War II? Hey, Jews and the Allies, better to have an unjust peace than a just war. So you kind of die. I mean, yeah, it was very weird. But so my guess is Putin hears that and he likes it. And Putin offering peace, for example, is one way where maybe he's able to get some people in some countries, my guess is Germany especially, he's going for, to try to, those 100 people that wrote to Scholz, demanding that Germany stop the sales of arms and everything. Oh yeah, her argument was also that they should stop giving arms to Ukraine. That was her argument, actually, that she was making. That's the kind of people, multiple things going on TikTok. The birds and the Borg. Thank you for that. My guess is that Putin might do that on May 9th, say, declare victory, no more war, to try to get the peaceniks in Germany to go, see, Putin was willing to stop the war. Why are we giving Russians? So the quote was from some German today. Actually, hold on. I forgot I've got my other iPad, and I looked into it, and I am going to probably get a new iPad, because I found out that this iPad that is literally 7 years old can still be traded in for $85, which I was very surprised. And I can get the new iPad for like $340. We bought it for mom. Mom got a bigger rebate, but that gets it down to $250. And for $250 for a fast new iPad, that's not bad. And I can even use it for my lives, because I'm eating the battery on my good iPhone, and that worries me. So wait, let me pull this up real quick. I'm gonna pull up my Twitter, because I retweeted the woman today with a not happy comment, and hopefully I can tell you who she is. Yes, so open sesame. Oh, interesting. I'm going to follow him back. Stefan Auer wrote the tweet. He's the associate professor of European Studies at the SMLC Hong Kong University. Interesting. Hong Kong University. He said, one of Germany's most prolific writers and public intellectuals urges the West to stop supporting Ukraine with weapons, because even, quote, the most unjust peace is better than the most just war. Her name is Ulrika Gero. Oh boy. Let me try to pull this up. Hold on. Try to pull this up on something. Come on. I'm trying to do this in a way that isn't showing you the rest of my screen. This will be better. I didn't want to show you my DMs, because that's, even though there's nothing personal there, it involves other people's stuff. Okay, come on. Hold on, still opening, I think. Here we go. Ulrika. Okay, here. Double check, because I don't speak German, but I think that's who it is here. I'm going to put it here at TikTok real quick. I mean, the Twitter account is this Ulrika woman. It's backwards probably on TikTok, so you have to figure it out. And on YouTube, it's straightforward. Ulrika Guerrot. It's Guerrot. It's a French last name. Guerrot. Guerot. But I don't speak German, so I mean, I could translate it and see if that's her speaking. How much suffering do we want to? Yep. How much suffering do we want to scale up until we finally create peace? The most unjust peace is better than the most just war. At this place, I explained yesterday why I fully support offener brief. I'm guessing the offener brief must be the letter of 100 people who wrote to Schultz and said, stop the madness, stop the war, stop helping Ukraine. That kind of stuff drives me absolutely bonkers because that's like the old pacifist stuff. Okay, good. That's funny. That's actually very interesting. This guy, but I think this guy's another German. The guy who's teaching in, I mean, for what it's worth, the guy teaching in Hong Kong. Yeah. But anyway, what's that offener brief or whatever? Is that the Mike is your name? Is that the same? Is that the letter from 100 intellectuals who wrote to the chancellor and asked him to, stop selling the arms or stop giving the arms? Often, I think it's an offener brief. In any case, that's the kind of peace stuff that used to drive me nuts in the old days, because the problem with it is, and I see your comment, Syndicate. I'll put it up in a second about shooting down the nukes. The problem with it is it tries to pretend like you're being objective. That right? Oh, let's just stop giving weapons to everybody. Of course, if we stop giving weapons to everybody in the war, then Ukraine is going to die and become part of Russia. They're going to kill a lot of their civilians. They're going to literally dismantle the country and it's going to become part of Russia. So you're not actually, calling for peace and all of that, because all we're doing is cutting off our weapons. No, you're not. You're actually siding with Russia. And frankly, it reminds me of elections, when we have elections. And in Europe, you get this a lot. Like, people did this in France. A lot of people abstained because they didn't like Macron or Le Pen. And it drives me a little nuts because I get you don't like Macron, but you're willing to have freaking Le Pen become president? Are you insane? And I'm sorry, but it's the same thing in all these elections where you don't like both, but one is milquetoast. One's kind of meh, and the other's horrifically scary to the existence of your country and your democracy and everything else. And you're saying, I'm just not going to vote. And to me, that's the same thing as this, where it's like, we just don't like war. I've got friends like this, to be honest. And I'm sorry, some of you may be listening. I've got friends like this. They just don't like war. They don't want to be supporting weapons and stuff. And I appreciate that. But what they don't understand is then you are supporting Russia's genocide. You are supporting genocide. It's just like World War II. You're supporting genocide if you don't want to help stop it. And sometimes that's the way it is. You're thrown into a fight and you don't have a choice. And if you are watching, and interesting in American law, if you are watching someone drown, for example, right? They're in the water and they can't breathe, they can't swim, they can't breathe. It is legal. It is okay for you to let them drown. If you start to help them, for example, if you threw them a rope and you started pulling them in and then you said, I don't want to help you anymore, and you let go of the rope, then you would be guilty of murder or negligent manslaughter, negligent homicide, whatever. But if you simply did nothing and watched the person die, it would be okay legally. I don't totally agree with that. And I certainly don't agree with that in terms of international relations. When you are watching somebody die and you can help, unless you've got a very good reason, you should help. But there can be very good reasons in international relations, such as they're not going to win anyway, such as it'll lead to a world war. I can appreciate that, but not, I just like peace. Because you're not for peace if you're letting the bad guy win. I'll stop mocking that woman who I don't know who she is. University of Bonn, she's just one of many others, not so famous. Okay, well, that's good to know at least. That's good to know. Good for you, William. Sorry, William McCormick's saying, I don't like war. Oh, thank you. I like the little musical note thing, Brenda. I've seen that before. Thank you. I've only recently seen that, actually, but it's very pretty. I like the blues. They're colors I like. I don't like, William McCormick says, I don't like war, and I literally called and messaged my congressmen and women to send weapons to Ukraine. Also urge them to support a no-fly zone, even if that brings us into war. Good for you. I agree with you. I mean, the no-fly zone, I agree it's nuanced, so I'm fine with people disagreeing on that, but good for you. Richie MX7, I had to bring this up because he quoted Battlestar Galactica. To quote Battlestar Galactica, often the opposite of war isn't peace. The opposite of war is slavery. I forgot. I don't remember that quote from Battlestar Galactica. Thank you, Credilli. Appreciate it. And Brenda. I don't remember that quote. What a great quote. Actually, it's a great way to put it, because sometimes it's very hard to explain to people what you mean when you say if you are being a pacifist, you're not actually arguing for peace. You're arguing for the bad guy to win the war. And that is not, in my sense, pacifism or anything good, or Christian for that matter. Let me go to more questions on TikTok from you guys here. We'll definitely go till at least 20 after, because I went long with the news today. We had a lot of news today. Yeah, Putin apologized. Well, Putin apologized. That was kind of interesting. Jen asks on TikTok, what do you think of Putin's apology for Lavrov? So very interesting. Putin apologizes to, I don't know, Prime Minister of Israel, whoever it was, somebody big in Israel, the leader there. And because over the last several days, they've had that growing row of the Russians claiming that Hitler had Jewish blood and Zelensky has Jewish blood. So Zelensky could be Hitler. And then they said that everybody knows, this is the foreign minister Lavrov who said this from Russia. Everybody knows that Jews make the biggest anti-Semites, and they just kept getting more. Then the next day they attacked Israel because Israel said, no, not true. They attacked Israel. Oop, mom's phone's going off. They attacked Israel. Thank you. Idel Rio. Thank you. The swan was beautiful. Okay, the phone's still going. I got to get mom's phone at some point. I've got to keep forgetting to bring it over here to turn it off when it goes off. In any case, it kind of went on and on. The Russians doubled down and made some more. Oh, yeah. They said, see, this is proof why Israel is supporting Nazis in Ukraine, because Israel has an ahistorical view of the Holocaust. They don't understand how it actually happened. I mean, and you're going, are you people freaking stupid? Like, what are you doing? Because Russia does not want Israel to get more involved. Israel has weapons that the Ukrainians would get down on their knees and bow, kiss the Israelis' feet for these weapons if Ukraine got their hands on them. And for the Russians to be pushing this. Anyway, Putin finally figured it out. He called the Prime Minister of Israel and apologized, which was actually pretty wild. And somebody else wrote on Twitter today, and they said, tell Lavrov not to walk near any balconies, because in Russia, Putin's political opponents keep slipping off of balconies. But that was insane. I mean, just insane of the Russians to do that. So blows my mind. Another TikTok question. Oh, I saw that, the Borg stuff. Thank you, Flower Lady. I almost missed the Borg stuff. I was going to see, when I pull up your questions on TikTok, it's got to roll up a screen for me to find them. So sometimes I miss the stuff you put up, and I almost missed the Borg. That's one of my favorites. Thank you. I really do. That's a new one, but I really like it because I'm a big Star Trek, Battlestar, everything plan. Igor. Oh, well, that was a super sticker, Igor, but feel free to ask a question, unless you were just being incredibly sweet and generous. That's nice of you. But if you have a question, feel free to post it anyway. Sorry, I'm scrolling down more on the TikTok thing. Yeah. Will the U.S. have enough weapons and rounds for us? Currently, we are getting lower currently. That's for sure. The question is the Spock hand gesture. Oh. See, I can do it pretty quickly. Actually, you know what's funny? It's easier with my right hand, maybe because I'm a righty, but I can easily do this with the left. With the left, I do it wrong and then have to, oops, oh, sorry, you couldn't see there. The left is a little harder. Thank you, Tiffany. That's very cool. Your name's kind of cool too. I never realized it was written that way. There's some talk of the U.S., we're definitely getting down, because the problem is some of the weapons take a while to build new ones, like the javelins, I think it was, or something, but it takes a while. But, we're not going to give so many that we don't have enough weapons. So at some point, but also my guess is, the arms industry, the U.S. has made it, Biden, the administration has made it very clear to our arms industry that they need to start, making stuff fast. And the question is, some of the stuff that takes longer, maybe, but some of the other stuff, I'll grab one more question. If folks have got one more, well, as I always say, Igor, if you had a question, put it up there. I wasn't sure if you were just being super generous, because sometimes people put those up and they forget to ask the question, or they weren't able to ask the question. So if you do, feel free to ask one. I will grab one more question on TikTok to be nice here, guys. And as always, if somebody has any more of the super chats, I will always answer those, and Lindsay, thanks for the super sticker. You too. Okay, I guess that's true. You don't have to ask a question, but I always like to make sure you didn't sort of mess up and mean to ask a question. Ukraine does not have Patriots. No. That's a good question, actually. Does Ukraine have an army have any Patriot missile defense? No. Not until now. I don't recall seeing that changing. There was some concern, I think, about, even though the Patriot's pretty old, the Israel's been using it back with like the Iraq War. It was one of those things we didn't want to go to Ukraine, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if the Patriot is still of a level that it's something we still don't want the Russians to get their hands on. I'm not sure, but actually, I don't know if anybody knows in the most recent stuff, but I don't think so. Because the Patriot would be amazing, but no. Actually, part of the problem with Patriot, I remember this. Part of the problem with Patriot is you got to train people on it. Now, that doesn't mean we can't train them, because we're training a lot of the Ukrainians on artillery now. We trained over 200, 240 or whatever. I see. Yes, we did. Did we actually include Patriots? I would die if we included Patriots. Thank you for the flowing things at the bottom there. Was it the first war? I was going to say, I thought it was the first Iraq war. Thank you, Beth on TikTok. I was going to say that puts us back 40 years. No, 90 would be 30 years that it's been around. Patriots are nuclear capable. Interesting. But I will bet you. I was going to say, I bet you that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. I just remember reading that I thought we didn't want the Russians getting it, but then in my head I was going, it's 20 or 30 years old. Could it be that good a technology for the Russians to get? But but yes, we've been training Ukraine. Oh, UK's been training them too. Oh, excellent. Actually, somebody else in Europe was training them as well. If it was France or Germany, somebody was training some of the Ukrainians as well. I was glad to see. Can't remember now. Yeah, the steel, I'll sort of end with this, but the steel plant defenders, I'm going to hang out another 10 minutes anyway and chat with you guys. But as far as ending the substantive talk, very scary with them. I don't know if they've been able to, thank you, V Park, for that. I don't know if they've been able to get them supplies at all. I don't know. My hope, I guess my thought is, if you could get them supplies, maybe you could get them out. Poland and Germany have been giving training too. Okay. I thought Germany, I didn't know about Poland, but I thought I'd seen Germany was training on something. Interesting. Okay, Michaela, we'd sent the Patriots to Slovakia to replace I want to say, was it the S-300s probably? I think that's the system the Slovaks were sending to Ukraine, and we were sending even better systems to Slovakia, which would be the Patriots. Yeah. So we must be still trying to keep them. Actually, you know what? The Patriots might even be, I don't remember. In any case, yeah, the Iron Beam is interesting. I was Israeli listeners of ours was emailing me really interesting points about the technology the Israelis have, and it was the S-300. That's what I thought. The new Iron Dome, which might be it is the Iron Beam then. Yeah. About the whole issue with they're using lasers to shoot down the incoming artillery, which is missiles, absolutely amazing. Because first of all, lasers instantaneous, right? But I mean, God, but supposedly it's not ready yet. But it's not clear whether saying it's not ready is simply a misinformation, or whether it's really not ready yet. But that's freaking amazing. But it's also something you definitely don't want to get into the Russian hands, So it's hard to put it over there, because you just don't. Patriot for yourself. You having problems with friends lately? All right, guys. Like I said, let's hang out, and we'll hang out. Multi-object kill vehicle program. I do not, but feel free to tell us here. Thanks, guys. Jennifer, I appreciate you guys too. All right. Glad you guys had fun. Like I said, we'll hang out for another 10 minutes, just ourselves to chat, but you don't all have to think here. Somebody thinks the Iron Beam is already in use. Don't know. But yeah, very cool stuff. I mean, I hope if it's safe, meaning for the yawning fun. It was an hour and a half without a yawn. That was pretty good. But if it's safe for us to do, or for Israel to do, or whomever, it'd be really nice if some of these game-changing technologies could get to the Ukrainians, because, already I think I was hearing some of the American artillery can shoot farther than the Russian artillery. So you get into a wonderful situation where the Ukrainians can hit the Russian artillery, but the Russian artillery can't hit the Ukrainian back, which is just devastating. And since the Russians don't have control of the airspace, let the Ukrainians stand there with a few Stingers and some other systems and just wail on them. Oh, my mug cake to die for. Oh my God. I didn't make it last night because we finished here. I ate like at 7, which, American time is late, but not for Europeans. And afterwards I was full and I didn't feel like eating anything else. So I didn't want to make cake because I was just like, ugh. So I decided to make it today around 4:30. Oh my God. I forgot how good that thing, like I told you, with this new frosting, literally it was actually today's. This is the flourless mug cake I make. Today's tasted like a flourless torte. Oh my God. It was ridiculously. I put it for 35 seconds on Mom's microwave, which is like 1200 watts. Oh my God. Just like I said, cannot recommend that. I'm actually very shocked because all the mug cake, basically making like a cake in a coffee mug, all the ones I've had over the years have been horrific. This one, and the irony is with this one is I tweaked a little bit and I forgot to put the oil in. Without the oil, it's to die for. And which is great because the oil, they put enough oil for the Russian army in this thing. It's a ridiculous amount of oil. Not happy birthday for me, but for somebody, I'm assuming there. Yes, and moderators, thank you very much. I need to make a TikTok. I thought about it. I had already mixed the ingredients and then realized I should have done a TikTok. So I will do it. I mean, I always tell guys before, I'll tell you again the recipe. I did it last night. I don't want to tell the recipe every night, but and you could always go to YouTube. These videos are on YouTube recorded, so you can always go there and see it. But it's John Aravosis, DC. DC as in District of Columbia. John Aravosis, John, my last name, DC. But it's simple. It's 3 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 tablespoon of baking powder. I put that. You don't have to, but it lets it rise a little bit more. 3 pinches of salt, like, a little pinch with your finger, 3 pinches of salt. And I put a little cinnamon, just a dash, 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips, but it's up to you. You could put more, you could put less, but of chocolate chips. Oh, and 1.5 tablespoons of baking cocoa, but the dry cocoa that doesn't have any sugar in it. For baking, use the best one you can. The one that shocked me here in the States, I used the Hershey's one, which was blah. Mom's got a special dark Hershey's cocoa. Oh my God. It's like eating the finest French dessert. Don't put oil. So anyway, mix the powder together very well. And you'll see if you tip it back and forth, I'll get to yours in a second, Zach. If you tip the mug back and forth, you'll see there's still white powder. So make sure it's mixed together very well. 3 tablespoons of milk. And I put a dash of vanilla extract. Mix it up just for 5 seconds. You just want to make sure everything's wet, but you don't beat it. You just mix it carefully. Microwave, try 35 minutes in the microwave. Let it sit maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then you don't have to eat it with ice cream. And if you eat it with ice cream, it's even better, but you could skip the ice cream. And then the only sin is the chocolate has a little fat, obviously, but it's, pure chocolate. And you are eating 2 tablespoons of sugar, which, let's face it, 2 tablespoons of sugar is not small. So you could always cut the recipe in half, but oh my God, sorry. It's decadent, but I feel like chocolate should be decadent, I do, 35 seconds, 35 seconds. Did I say 35 minutes? Oh my God, not 35 minutes. You'll have a fire on your hands. Microwave explodes. 35. I know everyone caught it on both of these. 35 seconds. Sorry. I don't know why I said minutes. Sorry. 35 seconds. Now I've got a lawsuit. And he told me 35 minutes and I believed him. Sorry. So Zach was asking, after the war, will you continue to do global news? I'd like to. Yeah. We've been talking about that a lot. You guys I think one of you maybe brought it up stretching here, brought it up to me first. I hurt my arm. My shoulder's been just a mess. Brought it up first, and I've been thinking about it, and I'd like to continue because I like this. I don't know whether I do every day. Maybe I would do Monday to Friday. Like right now, it's been fun. 35 seconds. This has been fun. I don't mind doing every day because it's been fun. But, whether maybe cut down to 5 days a week or something, we'd have to figure out what the news is that I'd be covering. Because one of the things I really like, Tabitha, I will pull yours up in a sec here. One of the things I really like is we've been able to I'm able to cover the news with you guys and not have it be something political, really, in the sense that, most people in our countries agree on this stuff. My country, there's a couple crazies like Tucker Carlson, but most Republicans are on board. Most if anything, Republicans feel Biden didn't do enough. So everybody's on board for doing more, which is great. And the left, sort of the pacifist left, isn't talking, which is great. So I like that. And as much as I myself am very partisan in politics and domestic politics, it would be very interesting if I could do something that was less so. And I don't know, you never sue a lawyer. Thanks, Music Girl. Probably a good idea, actually. But it would be interesting if I could figure something to do that could continue this. I was thinking global news. The problem is we'd have to sort of see how to do it because, for example, I could not have a free-for-all question with you guys about any topic in politics. I would die. Any topic in American politics, I wouldn't be prepared enough. Or any topic in world politics. It would just be too much, So we'd have to think I don't know. I'd have to maybe look and take some. Well, there's another question too. Am I focusing on America? Am I focusing on the world? If I focus on America and the world, does that get a little boring for the world people? Do I just focus on world politics? But here's the problem too. Are enough people interested in world politics? Or let's face it, this is a war. I mean, this is a huge deal. We're worried about Ukraine. We ourselves are kind of involved. But if it were just there's no war and just a daily update on world politics, world news, would people be interested? I mean, maybe, right? But I don't know. That's one of the things that worries me. So in any case, I'm going to continue with something. And please, no politics. I'm going to continue with something. Different country each week, rotating focus. Yeah, it could be. It could be. It could be or again, it could just be one story a day. It could. I'm happy to continue with international relations. The only thing that worries me a little is, I'd have to see. Because the problem is my background's international relations. It's also a lot of domestic U.S. politics. I'm a professional writer, which means I've had a lot of experience and even working in politics. I mean, like working for a senator, you're taught how to look at an issue and kind of digest it for people and explain it. So that's why with the news, like the news of the day, I can kind of look at it, put it together, digest it, make it easier for folks to understand. What worries me though, today, the French elections, tomorrow, for example, this German politics issue with this sort of leftist group of German intellectuals opposing the war. I don't know enough about German politics. I could tell you the story, but I don't know enough about German politics to be able to add anything to that because I just don't know German politics. So I'm still kind of figuring that stuff out, like how to do a value added where I'm not necessarily, thank you, E. Del Rio again, thank you for the disco balls, how I can add value to something that I don't have to become an instant expert. Like I was doing a lot of stuff on COVID too, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was important, but it was something I was able to get up to speed on because I cared a lot about COVID. So I was reading everything out there. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that on TikTok. Oh, and the hat. I'm getting them all now from Sammy or Samia, maybe. Or that's Sam I Am. I'm thinking Samia. Sam I Am. But in any case, yeah, it would be hard to become an expert every day on a new topic. Whereas COVID, I did become an expert. I was crazily reading everything every day, and I was actually on my YouTube, my TikTok. I spent months just doing COVID, so I almost all COVID. I was really becoming an expert on that, and just like this with the military stuff, with the war, you can become an expert of sorts. I would never compare myself to the generals commenting on this stuff, of course, but you can become an expert of sorts on an issue over time. Anyway, it worries me day to day switching to a new topic, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway, yes, I'm going to continue doing something. We'll see what it turns into. What is Ben Shapiro doing? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. I had a question first. Sorry, from Tabitha. Do you think there will be repercussions for the U.S. admitting to sending intelligence to help take out Russian generals? I kind of think so. Yeah. We were talking about that at the beginning, Tabitha. There's that story that at least somebody in the U.S. admitted privately. Hello, Vegas. Admitted privately, or not privately, admitted publicly, but not by name, that the U.S. intelligence helped take out some of the Russian generals Hello, Scotland, too. I'm getting all these hellos coming in here. But there was a story right before I came on today saying that the U.S. intelligence also helped take out the Moskva, the ship that became a submarine. And that kind of stuff publicly, it almost forces Russia to respond in some way. And that's what worries me. Like, you start to say that publicly, that we're literally responsible for killing generals and sinking a ship. And, it's a little weird. So I don't know what Russia could do without declaring war on us. And Portugal, everyone's saying hi on TikTok now. Hello, Portugal. Okay, New York, stop it. Now everyone's going to keep doing it. Okay, I'm not going to stop and say hi to all of you. This is like they're having fun on TikTok. But it does worry me. I think it was there as it was MT History or Syndicate was saying. It was Syndicate saying that they may have had a reason for announcing it because maybe we were defending some other country that actually did provide the intelligence and we were claiming we did it to give cover. I don't know, but it worries me a bit because I don't necessarily see the benefit in doing it, and I can see the negative in doing it. My guess, though, is if the U.S. did tell the press that we were partially responsible for helping with going after the generals and the Moskva, that we had a reason for telling them, and there must be some positive reason. It must affect things in some way that's beneficial, or we wouldn't have done it. So that's my hope, that somebody didn't just screw up and say, yeah, we did it, trying to take credit, but there actually was a benefit, but don't know. What was Shapiro saying? And then I'm going to get going, guys. Although now that I had that chocolate before this, I'm not even hungry. Have you seen the Ben Shapiro comment to the Republicans? Hello, I think our squirrels are back. That was creepy. I don't know if you could hear that. It was like animals running across my roof. Oh God, they're back. I got to tell my mom about this one. We get squirrels and some other animals in the attic, and there's an attic right over my head here. And literally, it was 3 or 4 of them having a field day, like, but it was kind of like a ghost for a minute. You're kind of going, what the hell? That was a little scary. Ben Shapiro's asking them to go after gay marriage next. Wow. See, the issue with same-sex marriage in the States is it was won by a court victory at the Supreme Court. Squirrel life, no kidding. It was won by a court victory at the Supreme Court. Rats, hopefully not rats. Based on the Roe v. Wade decision, which is the decision that looks like it's going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. The big news the other day, the draft opinion had leaked saying the court had voted to overturn Roe v. Wade, which basically is the guarantee of abortion rights in America. That same decision was used as the main basis, I believe. I mean, it was one of the bases, at least, of the Supreme Court decision that legalized same-sex marriage. It was the same basis of the Supreme Court decision that made sodomy laws illegal. And I talked about this the other day. Not sure how to say it nicely. Bye to you on TikTok, but you'd have to Google it. I'm almost not sure how to say it without getting into trouble here. But basically, laws being passed in states telling people what kind of sex they can have between adults. I kid you not. And they're not talking about, sick stuff. They're just talking about anything beyond basic sex you might have to procreate, sex you have that doesn't produce babies, we'll put it that way. And this Roe v. Wade stopped that from happening. Roe v. Wade was used to stop people in states from literally making contraception illegal. They were trying to do that here. Roe v. Wade stopped. So all of the cases that protect these things are gone. The same-sex marriage case, it's gone. I mean, now that doesn't mean it is now illegal for gay people to marry, but all you need is a one court case with one crazy judge, some crazy conservative judge that says, I think, there's no right in the Constitution to gay marriage. And then it goes to the appellate court, and the appellate court goes, well, Obergefell, the case of Obergefell used to say that there was a constitutional right to gay marriage, but it's based on Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade doesn't exist anymore. So now Obergefell doesn't exist anymore. I'm going to say there is no gay marriage. And then it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, well, there isn't any more Roe v. Wade, so I guess gay marriage doesn't exist. Or you're going to have the 5 most super conservative justices on the court who overthrow Roe v. Wade are going to say gay marriage, yay. Good luck with that. And one of them already said that he thinks the gay marriage decision was decided incorrectly. It is a disaster what could come next from this. And again, you don't have to be anywhere on the political spectrum you don't even have to get into abortion issues as far as what the impact could be on contraception, on the right of gay people to marry, the right of gay people just not to be prosecuted for being gay, because that's what they were doing in the States. They literally were prosecuting. I can say this without getting into trouble with the censors. They literally had laws in the States that banned gay people from having sex. It was a crime for gay people to have sex in a number of American states. And that got overthrown. It only got overthrown in 2003 or so. Up until 2003, it was pretty much legal for them to do that. Okay, that gets out. So this is a big deal for us. I mean, it's a big deal for us anyway here in the States, obviously, because abortion is such a big issue. Left and right or whatever, but it's also a big deal because the impact of this goes way beyond, way beyond. We'll see. I mean, it's certainly going to, I don't want to, you're starting on this topic now, but it's also going to be very interesting to see what happens in terms of the elections, because this is going to have an impact. Well, biracial marriage was, yes, I mean, Musica, that was brought up too, whether it could impact biracial marriage decisions. Now, I've got to look into that more because in America, we banned legislation that banned blacks and whites from marrying. So there was legislation that said blacks and whites can't marry in America in many states in the South. And then in 1967, the Supreme Court said, no way, you can't do that anymore. And then it didn't just become legal. That's kind of the wrong way of putting it. The right of black and white people, not black and white, the right of anybody to have an interracial marriage was guaranteed. So then if it was legal, it was still legal in a state. If it was illegal in a state, it became legal. It became legal everywhere. But that was 1967, which was 6 years before Roe v. Wade. And I know this has been discussed in terms of Roe, but I don't know how, because since Roe was later, I would hope that Loving v. Virginia is the name of the case, which is amazing. And for any of you abroad, the actual name of the Supreme Court case that guaranteed the right of, in this case, a black woman and a white man to marry, their name of their family name was Loving, Loving, Loving. So the name of the case is Loving versus Virginia. And I mean, literally, Jill's telling you, the name of the family was Loving. I mean, it was amazing. But so I don't quite know how it was before, correct. So what's Tabitha saying here? Pull it up, Tabitha, what you're saying. Loving was before Roe. It was about 6 years before. But Alito was clearly trying to undermine it in the draft. I saw other people. Oh, thank you, J.A. Waldma. I'm saying Waldma because it cuts off the end of your thing there. Waldma. But in any case, yeah. So there are crazy implications all over the place. And I think one of the things that's important to remember, and this was true, not just on abortion rights, but I think on even our democracies themselves, and this goes way beyond America. I don't know about the Europeans or other non-Americans there, but for Americans, we always thought up until the last several years that, I mean, okay, we thought of ourselves as better than you. Yes, there was that kind of arrogance or hubris or whatever. There was that, or condescension. Yes. But also we thought America was better in the sense that we had matured more, right? That we have racism and we have things like that, right? But we thought like our democracy wasn't in danger. That's the kind of thing, it happened in Spain 40 years ago. It happened of course, we helped in Greece. It happened in Greece 50 years ago, but we helped. So let's not, blame the Greeks for that one. But the point is, that doesn't happen in America. That hasn't happened in America since 1864 when the country almost split apart, right? And we never perceived our democracy being at risk. And whenever anybody said that, even Roe v. Wade, everybody kind of thought on the left, like they're never going to go after. I mean, the extreme activists said they're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Everybody else was like, come on. And overall, there's always been a perception whenever anybody bad is running for office, there's always a perception that, our system will stop them. Our system is so complicated and there's so many checks and balances and the Congress and the courts and whatever, that even if we elect an extreme president, it won't matter because he or she won't be able to get anything done. And all of a sudden, we found that that wasn't true. That presidents can get things done, and they can get things done that are unthinkable. I mean, again, I kind of, I want to be careful because I want to keep our coalition of Ukraine folks together here. But anyway, this is a much longer discussion, but and not just Roe v. Wade, but I think we've all had our eyes opened. And this is what I was going to ask. I don't know for Europeans whether you used to think this way, but to me, I never perceived a threat to our democracy. I was like, come on, that's not the problem. There's a threat to us being, you just made it? Any good? Sorry, somebody says on TikTok, she just made my mug cake recipe. That's a good, let's segue off of this topic anyway, because it got way too serious. But that's some of my thinking on the democratic stuff, meaning democracy stuff that we never really thought we were at risk. And now we realize, or that it was at risk. And now we realize it is, or it can be. But yes, I want to hear about how the mug cake went. So yes, somebody on TikTok just made it. She said, we're waiting for her to give us the, and again, it totally depends on your chocolate. Because when I use the regular Hershey's chocolate, it was meh, and then it was very, it was meh. And then it was, when I used the Hershey's chocolate that was the special dark, oh my God, to die for. Sorry, the TikTok mud cake video. I'm going to do a video for sure because the TikTok is always 20 or 30 seconds. Oh, you had the special dark cocoa? How was it then? See, our conversation is like 20 seconds delayed here. Memes morning machination. It's like talking to the Mars lander here with memes. I've got to wait 20 seconds for her to get back to me. Hold on. Memes is telling us how the cake was. I mean, I was shocked. The only thing is if you overcook it, then it becomes just kind of cakey. Yeah, cocoa from UK. Oh no, I'm sure finer cocos would be lovely. Trust me. I've got one back home from Europe, but it's old now. One of the good ones, but it's old. So I need like a fresher one. But the Hershey Special Dark, shockingly good. I was very surprised. Well, we're still at it because we're talking about the mug cake. I'm waiting for Memes to tell us exactly how it turned out, though, like how she liked it. But we're having our talking to Mars delay here with TikTok that it's taken her a second to come. You're very welcome for the coverage. Okay, someone saying somebody on TikTok, Glam saying on TikTok, God, I'm hungry. I'm actually not because I had the cake. Uh-oh, what's on CNN? Smash Thumbs thing, breaking news on CNN. Ruh-roh. Are you for real? Do I have to turn on CNN and see here? Let me see. I will turn it on as we're talking here. And I still want to hear the mug cake. No, I mentioned to Vlad about the coffee, but I don't think he was very excited about trying to get it for me. Well, that's true. That's actually, yeah, it's on a commercial. That's very true. Everything on CNN is breaking. Very true. They switched to that breaking thing a long time ago. It drove me crazy when they would just put up breaking news. And it wasn't really breaking news. Beep, 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 beep. All right, I'm waiting for CNN to come back on, and then I'm going to hang up with you guys because I don't want it to be like, Putin nuked Ukraine, and then I hung up with you already. And Memes is still not telling us about the cake. It's killing me. I know CNN is. I mean, I like CNN. People criticize CNN. I love CNN. I think it's very good. No, nothing. Sheriff Manhunt. Nope, nothing right now. It's some stupid manhunt for two people looking kind of white trashy. All right, guys, let's call it quits. We're going long today. She may have died from the chocolate overload. I think so, Anne. Memes just like stopped responding. Yep, and thank you, Christy. You every day you're going to catch me unaware, Chris. I'm going to see that and go, oh, that's right. I love that thing. Thank you. You just became a top 1 viewer. I don't know what that means, Christy, but it gave some notice that you are a top 1 viewer. Who knows? Maybe it means you keep getting me nice things. I don't know, but thank you for that. Oh, you did respond. I didn't see it. What'd you say? It flew by too quickly. It flew by too quickly. Okay, bye, guys, on here. I'm waiting for Memes to respond again so I don't miss it this time. She responded and I missed it. This is one of the things I'm going to do, by the way, is when I get my new iPad, I want to use it to do these chats because the screen will be bigger and it'll be way easier for me to see. It was delicious, but I used too much cinnamon. Oh, I did that the first time too. I put a little too much cinnamon and then it was getting like cinnamony. It's kind of a weird, you've got to go very light on it. Same thing with the vanilla, although vanilla is a little more forgiving. Yeah, too much cinnamon on a small cup can be crazy overwhelming. All right, guys. And on that happy note discussing cake, you will see me tomorrow at the same bat time, same bat channel, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2300 UTC or GMT. And we will continue. And thank you for joining me. And there you go. All right, guys. I will, I will say goodbye on TikTok, but as always, I'll wait maybe half a minute or so until you start saying goodbye so I know it caught up, because I know that goes slow. And on YouTube, I can click on you guys shortly because you're only 5 seconds behind. So, all right, goodbye, YouTube folks. Thank you, Helen, for the last minute hat. Cap. I appreciate it. I will give your love to Mom. I'll tell you. Although if I tell Mom you said hi, then I'm going to get I want to see these people. Where are they? And then Mom gets on TikTok and it becomes very, very nervous for me. Okay, YouTube. Goodbye, YouTube.